Good morning, brothers and sisters in Christ. Welcome to another Reading Through the Bible series with Law of Christ Ministries. This is part 176, not 175, 176 of our daily scripture reading, continuing in the book of 1 Samuel, picking up in chapter 21. And David got up and left, and Jonathan went into the city. And David came to Noba, to the priest of Abimelech, and Abimelech was astonished to meet him, and said to him, "Why is it that you are alone and no one with you?" And David said to the priest, "The king has charged me with a matter today, and said to me, let no one know the matter about which I send you, and concerning which I have charged you. And I have testified solemnly to the lads in the place called Faith of God, Phayani, Lemoni. And now, if there are in your hand 5 loaves that give into my hand what is found." And the priest answered David and said, "There are no permitted loaves in my hand, for there are only consecrated loaves. If the lads have kept themselves from a woman, then they shall eat." And David answered the priest and said to him, "Indeed, we have kept ourselves from a woman yesterday and the third day. When I go on a journey, all the lads have become consecrated, and this journey is profane. Wherefore it shall be consecrated today through my implements." And Abimelech the priest gave him the loaves of the presentation, and there was no bread there except the loaves of the presence, which are removed from the presence of the Lord to be replaced by hot bread on the day that he took them. And one of the lads of Saul's was there in that day detained Neizara before the Lord, and his name was Doeg the Syrian, tending Saul's mules. And David said to Abimelech, "See if there is a spear or sword here by your hand, for I have not brought my sword or my implements in my hand, because the king's business was in haste." And the priest said, "Behold, the sword of Goliath, the Philistine whom you killed in the valley of Elah, and it is wrapped in garment. If you will take this for yourself, take it, for there is none here except this one." And David said, "Behold, there is none like it. Give it to me." And he gave it to him. And David arose and fled in the day from before Saul. And David went to King Ancoas of Geth. And the servants of Ancoas said to him, "Is this not David, the king of the land? Did the dancers not take the lead for this one, saying, 'Saul killed amongst his thousands, and David amongst his 10,000s?'" And David put the words in his heart, and was very much afraid from before King Anox of Gath. And he charged his face before him, and he put on an act on that day, and he drummed on the doors of the city, and gestured with his hands, and fell against the doors of the gate, and he spittle ran down on his beard. And the Anchias said to his servants, "Look, see an epileptic man. Why did you bring him to me? Indeed, do I lack epileptics, that you have brought him to have an epileptic fit before me? This fellow shall not come into the house." And David left there and escaped, and came to Adullam cave. And his brothers and his fathers came from father's house, heard, and went down there to him, and everyone in distress, and everyone in debt, and everyone troubled in soul were gathering to him, and he was leader over them, and there were with him about 400 men. And David went from there to Mesphah of Moab, and said to the king of Moab, Let now my father and my mother be with you, until I know what God will do for me." And he persuaded the person of the king of Moab, and they were dwelling with him all the days that David was in the stronghold. And the prophet Gad said to David, "Do not remain in the stronghold, leave, and you shall enter into the land of Judah." And David left, and went in to settle in the city of Sarik. And Saul heard that David had been recognized in the men who were with him. And Saul was sitting on the hill below the cultivated field which is in Ramah, and his spear in his hand, and all of his servants stood around him. And Saul said to his servants who stood around him, and said to them, "Do hear, sons of Benjamin, if the sons of Jesse will truly give every one of your fields in vineyards, and make you all officers of hundreds and officers of thousands, for you are all in collusion against me. And there is no one who uncovers my ear when my son makes a covenant with the son of Jesse, and there is no one of you who feels sorry for me or uncovers my ear, because my son stirred up my slave against me as an enemy of this day. And Doeg the Syrian, who was in charge of Saul's mules, answered and said, I have seen the son of Jesse coming to the Namba to Abimelech, son of Achitob the priest, and he was inquiring of God for him, and he gave him provisions and gave him the sword of Goliath, a Philistine. And the king sent to call Abimelech, son of Achitob, and all the sons of his father, the priests who were at Noba, and all of them came to the king. And Saul said, Listen now, son of Achitob. And he said, Here I am, speak, sir. And Saul said to him, Why have you conspired against me, you and your son of Jesse, that you gave him bread and a sword, that you asked through God for him to send him against me as an enemy of this day? And he answered the king and said, And whom among all your slaves is like David, faithful in the king's son-in-law, an executor of your every behest and honored in your house? I have begun today to ask through God for him. By no means let not the king impute anything to his slave or to the whole of my father's house, for your slave knew nothing of all this, a matter small or large. And Saul the king said, You shall die by death, and Abimelech, you and all your father's house. And the king said to the runners who stood around him, Draw near and put to death the priests of the Lord, because their hand is with David, and because they knew that he was fleeing, and they did not uncover my ear. And the servants of the king were not willing to extend their hands to attack the priests of the Lord. And the king said to Doeg, You turn and attack the priests. And Doeg the Syrian turned and put to death the priests of the Lord. In that day 305 men, all bearing an ephod, and Nomba, the city of the priests, he smote with the edge of the sword, from man up to woman, from child up to infant, and calf, and donkey, and sheep. All right, guys, we're going to stop there for today. Lord willing, we will be back tomorrow. Peace and blessings.